हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः।
हरि ओम सर। हरि
हरि ओम हरि ओम। Can everybody see my screen?
yes, sir.
Can
We
everybody,
can see the Zoom.
can everybody hear me? Can you all see the screen now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome. So let's give it one more minute for our friends to join and then we'll get started. How is everybody doing? Hope you're all doing good, keeping safe and doing well. Okay, we're about time. So as usual, let's get started with our sessions with prayers. So the first prayer will be for Lord Ganesha. Please sing along with me. Vakratunda Mahakaya Koti Surya Samaprabha Nirvighnam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Dakshine Lakshmano Yasya Vame Tu Janakatmaja Purato Marutiryasya Tam Vande Raghunandanam Kujantam Rama Rameti Madhuram Madhuraksharam Aruhya Kavita Shakham Vande Valmiki Kokilam Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurudevo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Excellent work. Now let's get started with the story segment of our session. So we started Yuddha Kanda last week. Quick recap of what we have heard the previous week. The start of Yuddha Kanda, the 6th chapter. We did it last week where Lord Rama got the message from Hanuman about the whereabouts of Sita Devi and what is happening in Lanka. So along with the entire army, Sugriva, Jambavan, Nala, Nila, Angad, Hanuman, all the army chiefs, they started their journey towards the city of Lanka for the big battle. And after traveling for a few days, they reached the ocean. And then Rama prayed to the ocean god Samudra Deva for 3 days, but Samudra Deva did not come about and give any advice to Rama. Then he got angry and took out his bow and arrow. Immediately, Samudra Deva rose from the ocean god, and then he proposed a solution, advised Rama to build a bridge between the city of Lanka and the other side so that they can easily cross with the help of Nala, who is the son of the architect of gods, Vishwakarma. And as advised by ocean god, Rama asked Nala to build the bridge. All the monkeys, all the bears, everybody helped bringing all the material from the forests and the mountains. The material being rocks, big stones, and trees. And they laid a big bridge for everybody to cross in 5 days. So that is a bridge with the length of 100 yojanas. 100 yojanas means about 800 miles. So in 5 days, within 5 days, they completed that amazing, humongous job, and they all crossed the ocean saying the name of Rama and saying the name of Hanuman and Lakshmana and Sugriva and all the leaders. And they all safely reached the other side. Also, in the meanwhile, when they were on this side of the ocean, Vibhishana, along with his ministers, he did not want to stay in Ravana's camp anymore, because he thought that what Ravana is doing is injustice, which is accurate, which is correct. And even though he is his own brother, he said, I am always going to be on the right side by the virtue of the boon that he got from Lord Brahma. He said, I am not going to be in your camp anymore. And he flew to Rama's camp. He asked to have him join in Rama's team so that he can fight for what is right and what is correct. And Rama, in spite of many leaders saying no, he said, anybody who comes and asks for my refuge and asks for my forgiveness and asks to protect them, I will always take care of them. And Vibhishana is also one of them, and I'm going to give him my protection, and I'm going to have him join my team, and that is the final decision. So Vibhishana also joined Rama's team. They all crossed the ocean, reached the city of Lanka, and they started setting up big camps, military camps, army camps for all the monkeys, all the armies to stay and pursue the battle, the big battle that is coming up. So that is where we stopped our session previous week. So from there, let's get started with the session, the story session for this week. So all the leaders, they all were very happy with the accomplishment. So as a story, if we see, it's just, oh, okay, they crossed the ocean. But if you actually think about the magnitude of the accomplishment, it is a bridge on top of the ocean. Even in the modern age, in this technology and everything, how long would it take to build that kind of bridge? Even if it is even possible to build 800 miles bridge. It is a humongous task that they accomplished, right? They didn't know how they were going to cross the ocean. When they came there, they put their heads together, they brainstormed, and then they came up with the solution, and they accomplished the task, and they crossed the ocean. So it is every step of the way, the progress is to be recognized and is to be celebrated. That is when you can reach more and more heights, right? So Rama congratulated Nala, who is the chief architect, and the bridge itself is named after him. It is called Nala Setu because Nala, he is the chief architect. Sorry, somebody had a question? All right. So Nala is the chief architect. So he congratulated Rama, congratulated Nala for the great accomplishment. Sorry, did anybody has a question? If not, can you please go to mute if you don't have any question? That will be really helpful for everybody. Please mute yourself if you don't have any questions. So,
Sir, Lakshmana is conducting a bridge.
Lakshmana is constructing a bridge. Is that your question?
Yes, sir.
So Rama, Lakshmana, Sugriva, all of them together in the supervision, in the architecture of Nala, they all together built the bridge. So all the armies of Rama and all the monkeys and the bears, they got all the material like the stones, big rocks, boulders, trees from the surrounding areas. And with that, all that material, Nala, who is the son of architect of gods, Vishwakarma, he built the bridge. Lakshmana, Rama, they all supervised the activity and they all crossed that bridge to the other side. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Hari Om. So they all were very happy, congratulated each other, and then they started designing the next steps. That is a big design because everybody has to be in their particular position in the formations of battle, and everybody has to protect their designated areas so that no breaches will be done and nothing dangerous will penetrate into the armies. So Rama, along with the other chief commanders, they all started designing the battle formations and the designs and strategies required to start the battle. And they're all very well equipped and well trained for all these. Remember when Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, and Shatrughna, they went to the school with Vasistha, Vishwamitra, and they learned all these things. They are experts in battle strategies, weaponry, and formation of armies and how to lead the armies. And joining them is Sugriva, who is the leader of the monkey army, Jambavan, Angad, all of these, they are very, very well trained in battle strategies. So they're all putting their heads together to come up with the strategy. Again, if you think of a city of like Lanka, which has been built very well structured and very protective manner. So it is surrounded by the ocean and there are mountains around it. So it is not easy for the enemies to penetrate or declare war or suddenly emerge into the city. So it is protected by water structures, it is protected by natural resources like mountains and other structures. So who knows all these, where is what and how to cross all these things? There are two people in Rama's army now who are very well aware of all these things. One is Hanuman, who was successful in breaching all the security and all these reinforcements of Lanka's structure, who went in successfully, who fought battle with their armies and came back successfully. He knows what is the structure of Lanka and how to enter and how well it is protected, where are all the army camps, where is the base for every of these camps, and what kind of weaponry do they have. So they are gathering all that information. The second resource who has all this information is Vibhishana. Vibhishana is in Rama's camp now. So he knows about everything about Lanka, where all the armies are and how big those armies are and who the leaders of those armies are and what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses. So they're getting all that information and they're gathering all that information so that they can come up with the best strategy to defeat Ravana's army. So they're making all these formations, they're training all the army personnel to take their positions and fight according to the strategies, and they are getting prepared for the battle in all aspects. Meanwhile, while this is all going on in Ravana's camp, the ministers, they came up with an idea saying, now that they crossed the ocean and now that they're here, is there any way to stop the battle from happening? So one of the easiest and the best ways that everybody has been advising to Ravana is to return Sita back and do the right thing and correct his mistake and ask for forgiveness. But Ravana, being the crooked mentality and the wrong thinking that he has, he will never go for it. No matter how many people advised him of that, he'll always think he is right and he's going to continue putting everybody else's lives in jeopardy for his greed. So that is the mentality of Ravana. So the other way is to send a messenger and try to scare Rama, Lakshmana and their teams, right? So Ravana called his messenger, his name is Sukha, and he said, go to the camp of Rama and give my message to him. So Sukha, he immediately traveled to the camp of Rama and he said, I am the messenger of Ravana, I come here with his message. So then Rama asked him to come into the court, and then Sukha, he started telling all these things about how strong Ravana is, how strong Indrajit is, and the armies of Ravana. And he told Rama, there is no way you're going to win this battle. You are going to put all these monkeys and bears and Sugriva, your brother Lakshmana, all of these people's lives in jeopardy, in danger, in risk, going up against the strongest demon in the entire universe. And you're already aware of all the boons that he has, that he's going to be victorious even against the armies of gods. So you're just a human. How do you think you will win a battle against Ravana, the king of demons? And he has the support of all these strong army chiefs and everybody, all the demons from around the world. So it is in your best interest to return back. The way you came back on the bridge, the ocean, the bridge, it is still there. So if you go back now, Ravana will spare your life and your armies also without causing any trouble to them. So you can go back and return back and at least live your life without getting anybody in trouble and without getting your brother and yourself in trouble. So that is the message that Sukha gave to Rama. So again, it is just doesn't make sense kind of message, right? So if there is a message, there has to be a truce. There has to be a give and take. Here they're just saying, okay, you came all the way here, you accomplished the impossible of crossing the ocean by building a bridge, but I don't think you will win the battle. Just go back. It doesn't work that way, right? And who is he talking to? The greatest warrior that the earth has ever seen. Rama, Lakshmana, and who is behind them? Hanuman, Sugriva, and the great armies, who are none other than gods themselves, right? They're the forms of gods. So Rama, he smiled. And again, you have to see the difference between the mentality of Ravana and how Rama handles similar situations when it comes to him. In the previous episode, Hanuman went as a messenger, and you saw how Ravana treated him. He got immediately angry and he said, okay, let's punish this messenger because he's talking against me. First, he ordered the kill. He said, okay, he's going to get the death penalty. Then Vibhishana said, no, you can't do that. Then he changed it to burn his tail and put it on fire, right? So that is the way Ravana deals with things, and Rama, he deals with it differently completely, right? So he said, you are a messenger from Ravana, so I heard your message, so give my message back to Ravana and you can safely go back. There is no punishment or there is no mistreatment because you're just a messenger. You came here as an envoy, as an ambassador of your king, and you're just following his orders. So tell him that we have accomplished the impossible task of crossing the ocean and there is no turning back. And the danger, the jeopardy, the risk is all in Lanka to the armies of Ravana now. He can easily save his clan, his family, his sons, his brothers. Everybody can be safe and he can continue to be the king of demons. All he has to do is bring back Sita Devi to me and ask for forgiveness. And I will forget everything. I will forgive him and I will let him be the king, continue as he is. Right? So Sukha, and he immediately returned back with the message of Rama. He traveled back to Ravana and he gave the message of Rama to Ravana. Again, the mentality of Ravana, he doesn't want to hear yes. Everything has to be yes. Yes. If there is a no, and if there is an advice against him, he just can't tolerate it, right? So he immediately got very, very angry on Sukha, who is the messenger. So he said, you can't even do one job right. I gave you the message. You couldn't convince him. Okay, now tell me about the armies of Rama. What have you seen in their camp? How are they doing? How strong are they? How many people are there? And do they have any weapons? Give me all that information. So Sukha, he started narrating, translating, and giving the commentary about the armies of Rama. So he started describing the strength of each warrior. Sugriva, he is this big warrior. He can accomplish so many things. Hanuman, we have seen the strength of Hanuman. Jambavan is very, very strong. So he started describing the armies of Rama. when asked by Ravana, right? So then, as soon as he started hearing the praises of the opponent, praises of the enemy, even though he himself asked him, Ravana again got very, very angry. He reprimanded Sukha. He said, I'm going to put you in jail for this obstruction of the royalty because you are singing the praises of the opponent in my court. You are going to be in jail until I forgive you. I am actually so angry that I want to give you death penalty, but only because you are associate to my armies. I am going to leave you now, but you are going to be jailed. So see the mentality difference between Rama and Ravana. So always the evil side, there is no stability in thinking. Even though he's his own messenger, he just carried out his own instructions and he started telling about the armies only because Ravana asked him. Even then, he couldn't tolerate because he keeps saying all these things. Oh, okay, I'm stronger than Rama. I'm stronger than Lakshmana. Oh, they will never be able to cross the ocean. But all these things are happening. He knows he's not stronger than Rama. That's why he went in disguise when Rama was not in the ashram to abduct Sita Devi. If he knows and if he believes that he's stronger than Rama, why didn't he go fight with him and then abduct Sita Devi? He couldn't. He knows. And the same thing, he keeps saying, oh, they will never be able to cross the ocean. They are on the other side, they crossed it. So, in the inside of the inside, he is able to realize the truth, but he is not able to execute what is right. So, that is the fate of Ravana, that is the misfortune of not just Ravana, but everybody behind him. Everybody who is around him, his sons, his family, his armies, everybody. So Ravana, he then started thinking, oh, okay, what else can I do? He then thought of a very crooked plan. He called one of his army chiefs, his name is Shardula. He said, okay, you disguise yourself as a monkey because they're all demons. They can do all these magics, evil magics, and they can disguise themselves into different things. So disguise yourself as a monkey, penetrate into the armies of Rama. Start noting down all their secrets and see what all you can do to damage their armies and to control their strength. So Sardula, he immediately went into the opponent's camp, which is Rama's army. He disguised himself as one of the soldiers and he started penetrating into the army of Rama. He's walking around, he's going around looking at all the secrets and he's looking at the strategies, noting down everything. Then there is one person in Rama's army now who can recognize these magics. Anybody knows who that is? Vibhishana. So Vibhishana, he immediately realized that there is an opponent, Shardula, in the camp of Rama, and then he immediately ordered his men to arrest him. So they brought him back to Rama. He said, this is a spy from Ravana's camp. He's copying, he's making a note of all our secrets. He's going to take them back to Ravana. So it is time. So messenger cannot be punished, but a spy can be. So punish him, put him in jail, don't let him go back to the opponent's camp. So Rama said, no, that is not how I'm going to deal with this. So he said, okay, Sardula, come with me. And then he gave him a tour of all the army. He said, this is my wrestlers, this is my archers, these are my charioteers. So this is my camp. These are so many warriors here. Take all this information and go give to Ravana. See we'll see what he can do with it. That is the confidence of Rama. He is not afraid of the strength of Ravana. On the other hand, Ravana, he is the one who has to send spies to see and gauge the strength of Rama. Rama, on the other hand, he is ready for the battle. He is ready no matter what the opponent brings upon, right? So that is, again, you have to see these differences. Why I am telling you these small points is that is how Rama deals with things and how Ravana deals with things. How he treats with his associates, how he treats his ministers. So then he sent him back. He did not punish him. He said, Shardula, you are free to go. And then Shardula came back and gave all that information to Ravana. So Ravana was very perplexed because the generosity of Rama, he's able to see all that, right? Why would an opponent send his spy back to him? It is not understandable. It is not to comprehend. It is not to up to his comprehension why Rama is being so generous and so right all the time, right? Then Ravana, he is thinking about how to strategize the battle, and he came out to think about it. Like, there is a big balcony on his palace, and then he came out walking and he's thinking about the strategy. In the meantime, Rama and Sugriva, they wanted to look at the entire city from a very elevated location, which are all the mountains, surrounded by mountains, right? So they climbed up a mountain so to look at the surroundings of Lanka, how big it is, and where are all the forts, where are all the gates. So as soon as they went up the mountain, they're able to see all the palaces, all the royal buildings, the administrative buildings from that mountain. Sugriva was able to spot Ravana in his balcony on his palace, thinking about how to strategize the battle. As soon as he saw Ravana, he immediately jumped from the mountain onto the palace, onto the fort, and onto the palace balcony, and he started fighting with Ravana. Immediately, in the blink of the eye, all these things happened. He did not say anything to Rama, Lakshmana, he just jumped. So that is his anger, the pent up anger that Sugriva has for his opponent, Ravana, who abducted his friend's wife. So he shares that pain, he shares that agony that Rama is going through. Immediately, he didn't think what was going to happen. He did not gauge the strength of Ravana. So he just jumped and he started wrestling with Ravana. Again, Ravana is not to be underestimated. He's not to be taken easily. He's a great warrior and he has all these boons and he knows all the techniques. Not only just sword fighting, archery, horse riding, everything. He's an expert at all these things, especially wrestling. So he immediately, even though for a second he was shocked, he didn't know what came upon. He immediately realized that Sugriva attacked him. So he alerted himself and he started fighting back. And it didn't take long to start to overpower Sugriva. He started throwing punches, he started throwing kicks at him. So Sugriva immediately realized that he made a mistake. He then immediately jumped back onto the mountain where Rama and Lakshmana were, and then he escaped the ambush. He escaped the retaliation of Ravana. So Rama immediately he caught hold, he held Sugriva and he said, "What is this, my friend? How did you think that you're going to do such harsh thing? What if something happened to you when you started fighting with Ravana? Do you know how painful it will be to me and to the camp that something like this happened to my friend Sugriva? Do not do these hasty things. I came here to accomplish a task, but not at the expense of my friend's life. Not at the expense of my close associates, which is the army of the Vanaras. Vanaras means monkeys. Vanaras and all the bears. So you have to be very careful with what you do and every step you take. So please don't do these hasty things." So you see the love that Rama has for his friend Sugriva. So even though he's so angry at Ravana, he didn't say, "Oh, Shabash, good job. I would really wanted you to go and give him a punch and make him taste the strength of the opponent. Good thing you did. I'm also very angry at Ravana." He didn't say that. He's very, very careful. Even though he's a great warrior, he does everything by strategy. And he protects his people. He is very, very unselfish that way. He is a giver. It's just, "Oh, okay, if you went, oh, that's okay, no big deal. We have millions and millions of other soldiers. Okay, at least you tried." He's always protecting his people. That is the difference between Rama and Ravana again. If you look at the other side again, Ravana, what is he doing for his greed to marry somebody else's wife? He is putting his entire army in jeopardy. entire race, his sons, his brothers. Prahasta already lost. Prahasta is the chief commander of Ravana. He already lost 7 of his sons in the battle with Hanuman. He lost 5 of his commanders in the battle with Hanuman. One soldier of Rama, Hanuman, he killed so many people. And he killed his own son Akshakumara in the battle. He's putting all these people's lives as a gamble. Okay, no matter what, okay, even if they lose their lives, okay, no big deal. My greed comes first. So that is the difference between Rama and Ravana, the good and the evil. We listen to these stories to gauge the good and the evil. And when we are in situations where there is that good and evil, where there is the chance for us to take that good, to always choose the path of good. That is why we listen to these stories. So that is the difference between Rama and Ravana. So again, they went back to their camp and they started talking to all their soldiers. And meanwhile, in Ravana's camp again, he's scared. He doesn't have a solid war strategy. He is always looking for the backdoor entry or some cheating methodology. He is not straightforward, right, Ravana? So he called his minister. He said, okay, let me try to cheat Sita Devi. What will break her heart and make her to agree to marry me? If she marries me, there is no battle. I can go and tell Rama that this battle is over. What are you fighting over? Sita Devi already married me. So you go back. She's my wife now. So to make that happen, I have to cheat and trick Sita Devi somehow. So you do one thing. Prepare a head of Rama, just like Rama. It should look like Rama. Prepare an illusionary head of Rama and prepare the bow and arrows, the quiver and the sword that looks just like Rama's weapons, and bring them back to me. Because they have so much powers with the magic and different kinds of black magics, they're able to do different things, like such things, like creating these things and making illusionary objects. So his minister, he went back and he prepared an illusionary head that just looked like Rama's head. And he brought some fake weapons that looked like what Rama would use. His Kodandam is the name of the bow that Rama uses. And the sword and the quiver is the basket in which they put the arrows. And Rama, he has a very special set of quivers too on both sides of his shoulders. They always hang on both sides of his shoulders. The speciality for those quivers is the arrows will never end. It is an infinite arrow quiver. So as many as the arrows he takes out of those quivers, so many arrows will come up. So that is the magical quiver that sage Agastya gave him so that he can sustain the battle. He doesn't have to look, oh, how many arrows are left, right? So the minister made these illusionary objects and gave them to Ravana. So Ravana, he wanted to create like a real situation. So he made celebratory event, like, giving gold to everybody, celebrations, music, party environment. And then he walked into the Ashoka garden and he said, there is celebration in Lanka. Sita Devi, do you know why? Because I killed the enemy. Rama and we battled and I emerged victorious in that battle. So here is the token that my victory will last, is for sure. So he threw the illusionary head and the weapons in front of Sita Devi. And you can imagine the agony and pain and the hurt that Sita Devi would be going through at that point. And also the crooked mentality and the very cheap tactics and the trickery that Ravana has. And think of how his thinking cannot go lower than that, right? So his thinking is that he will throw these illusionary head and illusionary bow and arrow in front of Sita Devi. She will cry for 5 minutes and then she will agree to become his queen. So what is the ideology behind that? It is all about his greed. It is all about what he wants. So if she really feels that pain, how long will that pain last? For her, it is a lifetime of pain, right? It is not a 5 minute pain where she turns around and says, okay, now that this is over, let's get married. What kind of thinking is Ravana? You have to see and imagine that psycho mentality, really psychotic mentality that Ravana has to play this kind of trickery on a very weak woman who has been suffering for months in that garden alone waiting for her husband. So, as he expected, she was in tears, she was crying, she was in pain, and he didn't want to stay there long to wait and see her reaction, but he returned back so that it all seems real to her. So, as soon as he returned back, she was very, very sad. She was crying, and one of the demons, the guards, the lady demons, one of the demons, she came and she started talking to Sita Devi. So some of them, they've been seeing how much hardship she's been going through, what pain she has been going through. So some of them are very favorable to her. So she came and she said, don't believe in any of this. Ravana is an expert in these illusionary magics, and he has ministers and architects who can create these unreal things and illusionary things. And I know for sure from our spies that Rama is camped in Lanka. He crossed the ocean. He is safe in Lanka. He is in the army camp. He is leading the armies to start the battle. So do not trust what Ravana is putting in front of you. Do not make yourself more weak, more vulnerable by crying and going through the pain for something that is not required. So immediately the magic snapped out of Sita's head. So she is able to see clearly that there is no way, absolutely no way, that Ravana will be able to defeat Rama in a battle. So she immediately snapped out of that illusion and she started rooting for the team of Rama. She was very happy then because she didn't know that Rama has reached Lanka. So she is just waiting. Now it is just a matter of waiting. It is just a matter of days that Rama will emerge victorious and take her back to Ayodhya. So now she has something to look forward to. So she was very thankful to that she demon who gave that news and who snapped her out of that illusion. So meanwhile, in the camp of Ravana, that plan did not work. So Ravana was again thinking, okay, now it looks like the battle is inevitable. So he called upon all his chief commanders. He assigned their positions. He gave them the armies that they are going to lead, because the fort, it is a circle, right? So there are different gates: east gate, west gate, south gate, north gate. So all of them have to be heavily guarded and heavily protected so that the enemy soldiers cannot come inside. Because if they come in, once they come in, there is no telling where they will be. So all their armies, all their strengths, all their strategies, they have to use to restrain the armies of Rama from coming into the forts. So they strategized all that. Meanwhile, the maternal grandfather of Ravana, his name is Malyavan, he came to the court, inside the court, and he started talking to Ravana. He said, Ravana, I've been seeing a lot of bad omens in the city of Lanka from the time you abducted Sita Devi. The cows are not grazing properly. They're not giving enough milk to the people of Lanka. There are bad signs around the city of Lanka. The fire in the cooking, it's not coming through in a regular flame. There are so many other signs. The horses, they are making sounds, very bad omens. These are all bad omens, and they are all signs that we are embarking upon a wrong battle. So, and as you know, this is a wrong thing to bring upon, abduct somebody else's wife and make her go through all this pain in your own city. All the tears that falling in your city, her tears, they will all come back to haunt you and your people. So the best approach for you, all you have to do to protect everybody, both sides of the army, is to bring back Sita Devi to Rama and ask for forgiveness. And you will be able to save the people from a very, very, very big battle. There will be loss on both sides. It is not on one side, but you will be able to save it. It is up to you to protect everybody. So, again, how many people gave this advice to Ravana? So many people, starting from Maricha, Sita Devi, Hanuman, Malyavan now, Rama's messenger, Sugriva gave that message to Ravana. Everybody, Vibhishana himself, he gave that message to Ravana. No, he did not hear. He doesn't want to hear those good words, the good advice to protect his army, his greed, his ego, his arrogance. They are masking him from taking the right decision. So Ravana said, there is no way I'm going to back out of this battle. If it means that I'm sacrificing this palace, if it means that my army has to sacrifice, so be it. That is why they are there, to serve their king. So again, the selfishness of Ravana, it'll keep going on again and again. So he said, I'm not going to stop the battle, and Malyavan was very disappointed. He returned back to his house and he said, started praying for both the armies and to see if there is a way to end that battle. But there is no way, right? Now, Rama's team, he said, they sent a messenger to our team to talk about remember they sent Sukha to talk to Rama on behalf of Ravana and give the message of Ravana. So it is Rama's turn now. He said, if there is any way to... So somebody is... if you can go on mute, somebody's... Please go on to mute. Hari Om, somebody is on unmute. Can you please go on to mute? Thank you. So Rama, he sent Angad as his messenger to give his message to Ravana. You all remember who Angad is, right? Angad is the son of Vali, he is the prince of Kishkinda. So he went as a messenger of Rama to Ravana's court. He went inside and he gave the message of Rama saying, one Hanuman came and destroyed your city. Now we are millions and millions, crores and crores of army of Sugriva waiting outside your fort to destroy the city of Lanka. So the best way for you to get out of this misery is to return Sita back to Rama. So one more advice, right advice that is coming to Ravana that he is not ready to receive. He has so many chances to escape out of this misery and protect his people out of the misery that is to come upon them, but he did not take it. Please go on mute. Somebody is on unmute. Please go on mute. If you do not have a question, please make sure that your system is on mute. It is disturbing other audience also. Please check your system. If it is on unmute, please go on mute. It will take a second. Hari Om. So Ravana, he did not again listen to the advice that is given by Angad. He wanted to, again, he doesn't know the courtesy that Rama knows. He doesn't know the rules that Rama knows. He wanted to arrest Angad. So he ordered his men to capture him. So they tried their best, but Angad, he's very, very strong and he's very quick. So he immediately fought with the troops that came to arrest him, and he jumped up onto the roof of the court and he went out of the court and he went back to Rama's camp. So Ravana, he again got another opportunity, good messenger, a message from Rama's team, but he did not take that opportunity. So the big battle, Ravana and Rama, it started on the day beginning, both the armies of Rama and Ravana, they started the big battle. All the monkeys, they were very, very, very energetic. The bears, monkeys, they all formed the formations that were given to them by their chief commanders, and they started attacking the city of Lanka. So Indrajit, day one, the leader of Ravana's armies is Indrajit. I talked about Indrajit when he came to capture Hanuman, right? He's even more dangerous than Ravana as a warrior. He defeated Indra so many times in the battle. So that's why, even though his original name is Meghnath, he is given the title Indrajit, which means the defeater of Indra. So he has a very, very, very magical golden chariot that he rides upon. He has magic weaponry, and his battle tactics are always deceitful. He does not stand in front of his opponents, and he does not fight a fair battle with them. He is always hiding behind the clouds. He uses his magic to disappear from one place and appear in another place, and he starts shooting arrows from different places. So unfair magic battle strategies, he always uses those. So the day one of the battle, Indrajit was leading the troops of Ravana, and the battle started with a very, very, very big bang. So Rama and Ravana, they started using their arrows, bows, and they started destroying the enemies of the armies of Ravana. Bunch of people getting killed at one shot, and Hanuman, he's doing his thing. He's becoming big, he's becoming small, he's going through the armies of Ravana, killing each of them. Sugriva, he's doing his thing. Angad, he's doing his thing. Everybody is deeply involved in the battle. And in the middle of the battle, Indrajit, he vanished. He was right in front on the battleground, and he saw that the opponent is growing stronger and stronger. They are getting a grip over the armies. He vanished from the battlefield. Again, deceitful. He does not follow the rules. He is always using his magic trickery to fight an unjust battle, very unfair battle. So he disappeared, and he went and stood behind the clouds. So nobody will be able to see him because he's behind the clouds, right? So from there, he started throwing arrows. He started shooting arrows from there. So nobody knows where the arrows are coming from. So that is not how the battle is fought. Like, it has to be face to face. It has to be front of each other, right? So the armies of Rama, they're getting punished. All these arrows are coming from the clouds, and they are piercing into their bodies, and they're falling in thousands, in hundreds, in thousands. So Rama and Ravana, Lakshmana, they didn't know what to do. So they're starting to think of a strategy how to handle Indrajit. Meanwhile, Indrajit, he immediately thought this is a great time to overtake the enemies, overpower them. So he immediately took an astram. Again, we talked about astra and shastra, right? Shastra is a physical weapon. Astra is a magical weapon. It turns into different things as per the designated power of that particular arrow, and it starts to do the damage accordingly. If it is Agneastra, it starts emitting fire. If it is a Nagastra, it will start throwing snakes. So every astra has a designated power, and Indrajit, he possesses a very, very, very strong and different kind of Nagastra, which is designed to tie the opponent with thousands of snakes. And then those snakes will become very, very tight, like ropes, and those snakes will kind of tie the opponent without being able to move at all. So he immediately took that astra and he used it against Rama and Lakshmana. Since they didn't know where it was coming from, again, the deceitful battle, he was standing behind the clouds, and he just used this astra, and he sent that astra against Rama and Lakshmana. as per the designated power, it came with such force and it became turned into thousands and thousands of snakes, venomous, poisonous, strong snakes. And they started circling Rama and Lakshmana. They started acting like ropes and they started tying the hands and legs and the entire body of Rama and Lakshmana. And once everything is completely tied, they're not able to take out their swords, they're not able to use their bow and arrow to retaliate back on them. So they're completely restrained. So then they started using their venom and started biting them. At this point, Rama and Lakshmana are lying on the ground and nobody is able to help them because this is a magical astra. Even though Hanuman, Sugriva, they are all very strong, they're not able to take those out because there are thousands and thousands of snakes. And even if they take out, there's some not coming. Because it is magical weapon, they're taking out some and many are coming back. So even the sages, they are not able to do anything about it. The armies of Rama and Lakshmana, they are not able to do anything. And they are just lying on the ground helpless. At this point, all the armies of Rama and Lakshmana, they started shouting. What else is there? The battle is done. That the leaders are fallen in the battleground. What else is there to fight about? So they started running around. They started saying the battle is over. Rama and Lakshmana are on the ground and they are not moving. So very tough situation in that entire battlefield on day one. So that is the power and strength of Indrajit. There is no underestimating the opponent. They are very strong. They're wrong, they're evil, but very strong. But then Rama and Lakshmana, they're lying down helpless. And Vibhishana, he immediately came and he said, cover up this area so that our troops don't get discouraged. They continue the battle with them. So everybody stood around that area so that they're not able to see what is happening inside. And the troops, they started fighting, continued the fight, even though Rama and Lakshmana were unconscious lying on the ground. So very, very, very tough situation and a very sad episode. So meanwhile, what Indrajit said is, okay, this battle is done. I got the both the warriors who came as the leaders. There is no point staying in the battleground anymore. I'm going to go back now and rest my armies will take care of these other small warriors. And he returned back. He told the big news to Ravana. Ravana congratulated Indrajit and they started doing their celebrations. We emerged victorious. The battle is done. Because Indrajit knows there is no remedy for that astra that he used. Then the evil, very, very sorrowful episode, very unfortunate thinking from Ravana again. So he asked his people to put Sita Devi in the Pushpak, which is the flight that they have, which goes aerial, which goes in the air, and take her onto the battlefield and show the status of Rama and Lakshmana. But he gave instructions not to let her down, to go and feel the pain or cry or do whatever it is, right? So he wanted her to see what Rama and Lakshmana, where they are, but nothing else. So I'm going to quickly go through this phase because it is very painful and sorrowful episode. So Sage Valmiki describes this in his words and they're very, very, very painful. The agony, the pain, the crying that Sita Devi does there, very, very, very painful, right? So she goes up and she sees Rama and Lakshmana. She's seeing them after 8 months. And she sees them in that position where they are lying down, unconscious, immobile, and as to what she can comprehend, they're dead. There is no life. That is what she can think and imagine from up there. So you can imagine how much she must have cried, how much pain she must have went through. So again, he did not, the demon mentality, the psychotic mentality, the least, okay, they're dead now, right? If that is his imagination, at least let her go down and feel the pain, right? No. That is the demoness psychotic behavior that Ravana has, that he's not even letting her go and cry on them. He did not let her get down of the pushpak, and he brought her back to Ashoka garden. So she was feeling that pain, and she was very, very, very in that agony, and she was feeling helpless. She didn't know what to do next. Again, a demon, she came and said, "Do not worry, this battle is not over yet. So the fact that you are able to climb and travel on Pushpak, that means that your husband is still alive. So take that as a positive sign. Something miraculous will happen because the good is on your side. Rama and Lakshmana are the warriors. They are not going to give up just like this. Something good will happen. Keep your head up. Do not despair yet." So again, Sita Devi took comfort in her words, and very, very, very painful episode. It is, the description is not easy to go through. Then we come back to the battlefield. Still the same situation here. Rama and Lakshmana are unconscious. The leaders like Hanuman, Vibhishana, they don't know what to do because they don't have a remedy for this astra. And the celebrations are continuing in the camp of Ravana. So meanwhile, they heard this great sound. The sound of the birds, the sound of the Vedas. The sound is coming from the clouds. It seemed like there is another sun in the clouds. It seemed like there are two suns in the cloud, and they see a big, 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 big bird, eagle, flapping its wings with a golden complexion. The shine and the complexion is so bright that all the armies and even Hanuman, Vibhishana, everybody thought that it is the sun god himself that is coming down onto the earth. But it is not the sun god, it is Garuda. Garuda, to give you a little bit of background, the story of Garuda is that Garuda is the vehicle of Lord Vishnu. He is the staunch enemy of the community of snakes, entire community of snakes. So he terrorizes the community of snakes. That is what he feeds on. That is what eagles eat, right? The main prey for the eagles is snakes. So they cannot be harmed by their venom, and they are normally very stronger than the snakes, and they are able to claw with their wings, with their claws. They are able to hold the snakes, and they are able to devour on them. And same thing with Garuda also. He preys upon the snakes, the community of snakes. They're terrorized by him, and they always hide when Garuda, in the presence of Garuda. So that is the greatness of Garuda. That is the background. And there is a story behind why he is the staunch enemy of snakes. We will talk about it if we get the opportunity. It is about how Garuda was born and how he emerged to be so strong and how he became the vehicle of Lord Vishnu. But for now, we are just going to understand that he is a staunch enemy of snakes, and they are very, 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 the entire community of snakes are very scared of Garuda. So as soon as Rama is the form of Vishnu, even though Rama doesn't know that, Garuda knows that, Vishnu knows that. So Garuda, he is there to save his master. So he landed near where Rama and Lakshmana were unconscious. They were lying down unconscious on the battleground. As soon as he landed, as there is no battle, there is no discussion. All the snakes that were tied around Rama and Lakshmana, they all ran. They all escaped from there as soon as they can. They just scooted. They ran. They disappeared from that place because they know that Garuda has arrived, and if he angers on them, none of them will be alive. So immediately Rama and Lakshmana, they are free from the bonds of the snakes, and Garuda then, he gently flapped his wings on top of the bodies of Rama and Lakshmana. As soon as he flapped the wings on top of them, all the venom, all the poison that those snakes have injected into their bodies, it all came out, and they became as strong as they were before and even more. Because of the Amruta Tattvam, that the greatness and the strength of Garuda. So when they talk about the strength and speed, there's two people that all the scriptures talk about, and the speed, unmatched speed, Hanuma and Garuda. Unmatched speed, right? So that is the strength of Garuda. So with that strength, he gave that wing, the gentle brush of those wings on the bodies of Rama and Lakshmana, and he gave that magical power to both of them. So they stood up again with more vigor, more power, and more energy. So they are all ready to go back to the battle, and this news went back to the court of Ravana, and he was very, very, very stunned that Rama is still alive, Lakshmana is still alive, and the news also went to Sita Devi, and she was so relieved after going through so much pain. So they are going to get back to the battle, but since they went through so much on day one, let's give them some rest and let's see how they continue the battle in the next week's episode. We are going to go a little beyond our time today, this week. So have some patience. Please stick with me. We are going to quickly do our Hanuman Chalisa. It will take 10 minutes. But today is a great episode because of the arrival of Garuda. So, a very special episode. Now, Rama and Lakshmana, they've emerged even stronger than before. So, let's conclude the story part here. And then let's go to Hanuman Chalisa segment. Before that, since the great vehicle of Vishnu, Garuda, has arrived onto the earth to save our master Rama. So let's say a quick prayer for Garuda, and then we will go to Hanuman Chalisa. I'm just going to read this, and then you just listen, and then that will be a very good thing. Namah Pannaganathaya Vaikunthavasavardhine Sruti Sindhu Sudhopada Mantharaya Garutmate. So that is the prayer for Lord Garuda, who is the vehicle of Vishnu. So we are going to do a namaskaram to Garuda for coming into our story today. And then we are going to move to the Hanuman Chalisa segment. So is there anybody who is going to volunteer for Hanuman Chalisa recital today?
Can I, sir?
Can you please say your name?
Anuhya.
Anuhya, yeah, please go ahead. If you need any help, I will chime in. Otherwise, yeah, go ahead.
Shri Guru Charana Saroja Raja Nijamana Mukura Sudhari Varanau Raghuvara Vimala Yasha Jodayaka Falachari Buddhihina Tanujanikai Sumirau Pavana Kumara Bala Buddhi Vidya Rehu Mohi Raghu Kalesha Vikara जय हनुमान ज्ञान गुण सागर जय कपी सति गुलोक उजागर रामदूत अतुलित बलधामा अंजनी पुत्र पवन सुत नामा महावीर विक्रम बजरंगी कुमति निवार सुमति के संगी कांचन वरन विराज सुवेशि कानन कुंडल कुंचित केश हाथ ध्वजा विराजे कांते मूंज जनेऊ साजे शंकर सुवन केसरी नंदन तेज प्रताप महाजगवंदन विद्यावान गुणी अति चातुर राम काज करिवे को आतुर प्रभु चरित्र सुनिवे को रसिया राम लखन सीता मन बसिया सूक्ष्म रूप धरि सियहि दिखावा विकट रूप धरि लंक जलावा भीम रूप धरि असुर संहारे रामचंद्र के काज संहारे लाय संजीवन लखन जियाए श्री रघुवीर हर शिवर लाए रघुपति किन्हि बहुत बड़ाई, तुम मम प्रिय भरत सम भाई। सहस्र वदन तुम्हरो यस गावे, अस कहि श्रीपति कंठ लगावे। सनकादिक ब्रह्मादि मुनीशा, नारद शारद सहित अहीशा। यम कुबेर दिगपाल जहांते, कवि कोविद कहि सके कहांते। तुम उपकार सुग्रीवहि किन्हा, राम मिलाय राजपद दीना। तुम्हरो मंत्र विभीषण माना, लंकेश्वर भय सब जग जाना। युग सहस्र योजन पर भानु, दिव्योताहि मधुर फल जानु। सहस्र
प्रभु प्रभु मुद्रिका मेलिमुखमाहि,
जलधि लांघि गए अक्षर जनाहि। दुर्गम काज जगत के जेते, सुगम अनुग्रह तुम्हरे तेते। राम दुलारे तुम रखवारे, होत न आज्ञा बिनु पैसारे। सब सुख लहै तुम्हारी शरण, तुम रक्षका काहू को डरना। आपन तेज समारो आपै, तीनों लोक हांकते कांपै। भूत पिशाच निकट नहीं आवे, महावीर जब नाम सुनावे। नासै रोग हरै सब पीरा, जपत निरंतर हनुमत वीरा। संकट से हनुमान छुड़ावे, मन क्रम वचन ध्यान जो लावे। सब पर राम तपस्वी राज, तिनके काज सकल तुम साजा। और मनोरथ जो कोई लावे, सोहि अमित जीवन फल पावे। चारों युग प्रताप तुम्हारा, है प्रसिद्ध जगत उजियारा। साधु संकट तुम रखवारे, असुर निकंदन राम दुलारे। अष्ट सिद्धि नवनिधि के दाता, असवर दीन जानकी माता। राम रसायन तुम्हारे पासा, सदा रघुपति के दासा। हरे भजन राम को पावे, जन्म जन्म हरि कहे दुख बिसरावे। अंत काल रघुपति पुर जाए, राम जन्म हरि भक्त कहाए। और देवता चित्तन धरई, हनुमत से सर्व सुख करई। संकट कटई मिटई सब पीरा, जो सुमिरै हनुमत बलवीरा। जय 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 हनुमान गोसाई, कृपा करहु गुरुदेव की नाहि। जो शतवार पाठ कर कोहि, छूटहि बंदी महासुख कोई। जो यह पढ़े हनुमान चालीसा, होय सिद्धि साखी गौरीश। तुलसीदास सदा हरि चेरा, की जय नाथ हृदय महदेरा। पवन तनय संकट हरना, मंगल मूर्ति रूप। राम लखन सीता सहिता, हृदय बसहु सुरभूप।
सियावर रामचंद्र की जय, पवन सुत हनुमान की जय. Great job, Anuhya. Very nicely recited. Thank you for leading the recital this week. We appreciate it. And with that, we are going to move to our next segment, which is the Mangala Shaasanam. So please sing along with me. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. If you have any questions, you can stay back and I will try to answer them. If not, you can conclude the session here. Sarvam Shri Krishnarpanamastu.
Sir, how many days of battle are there? How many battles?
So how many how many segments more? We have about 3-4 weeks of story, 4 weeks I would say.
Okay. story, sir, how Garuda was born and how did he become the mount of Vishnu.
Yeah, so you want that is not part of Ramayanam, but if we get an opportunity, I will definitely let you guys know. Maybe I will include it in our Bhagavatam sessions, so which we are going to start after Yuddha Kanda, right? So I will include that in one of the sessions. We will go through the story of Garuda, his birth, and how he became the vehicle of Lord Vishnu.
Okay, sir. I know that.
Awesome. Oh, you know it. Great, great. Good, 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 good. It's a great story, right?
Yeah, sir.
Yep, good.
Bye, sir.
Bye, Hari
Thank
Om.
you, sir. Bye, sir.
You're welcome, Hari Om. Hari Om. Be good, do good, Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Anybody else, any questions? Is there anything in chat? Okay. Okay. If we don't have any other questions, we will meet again next week. Be good, do good. Hari Om.